So, have you heard about this? There's a big proposal making the rounds to cap all credit card interest rates at 10%. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a fantastic idea, right? A real lifeline for millions of people. But what if that fix could actually sabotage the entire economy? Let's get into it. First, I want you to just look at this number. Almost $12 million. Take a wild guess. What is that? The budget for a Hollywood movie? The price of a mansion in Beverly Hills? Nope. It's actually something that hits a lot closer to home for a lot of us.
Yeah, that's what can happen to an average credit card debt of just $8,000 if you let it sit for 40 years at a 20% interest rate. It's insane. You're not just paying off your debt, you are literally funding a skyscraper for your credit card company. It's the brutal, brutal math of compound interest working against you.
And just to put that 20% number into perspective, think about this. Warren Buffett, maybe the greatest investor of all time, has averaged just under a 20% return over his entire career. So every single time you carry a balance, you are basically guaranteeing your bank a Warren Buffett-level return. It's an amazing deal for them.
It's a system that, as one analyst put it so perfectly, effectively skins you alive financially. It's a modern debt trap, and honestly, it's designed to be incredibly hard to get out of once you're in.
So, with a problem this bad, you can see why people are looking for a simple, obvious fix. And that brings us to the proposal itself.
The idea couldn't be simpler. Just pass a law. Make it illegal for any lender to charge more than 10% interest on a credit card. A hard cap. This would immediately slash the cost of debt for millions. Problem solved, right? Well, this is where things get really complicated.
What if this so-called solution is actually a Trojan horse? What if making debt cheaper actually creates a whole new world of problems? Let's look at the potential fallout.
Okay, to get this next part, you kind of have to put on your banker hat for a minute. For a bank, a high interest rate is basically a risk premium. It's the reward they get that justifies the risk of lending to someone who maybe doesn't have a perfect credit score. So what happens when you suddenly take away a huge chunk of that reward? Well, this is the chain reaction that critics are really worried about. It all starts with that 10% cap. In response, banks just can't justify the risk anymore, so they tighten up who they lend to. All of a sudden, millions of people who relied on that credit are just cut off. And in an economy like ours that pretty much runs on consumer spending, that is a very, very big deal.
The ripple effects here could be huge. We're talking about a potential slowdown for the entire economy. Consumer spending is the engine of our GDP, and this could cause it to sputter. People who live paycheck to paycheck using credit cards might find that lifeline is just gone, and you can bet Wall Street would be watching very, very nervously.
All right, quick pause. If you're finding this breakdown helpful and it's making you think, do us a quick favor and hit that like button. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Stock Market Mojo YouTube channel. It honestly helps us keep making explainers just like this one.
But hang on a second. What if that painful economic fallout isn't fallout? What if it's the entire point? This brings us to the really counterintuitive argument, the tough love case for the rate cap. And this really gets to the heart of the other side of the argument. Is having less available credit a bug in the system, or is it actually a feature? Is shrinking the amount of credit an unfortunate side effect, or is it the whole idea?
So, the people who are for the cap argue that decades of super easy credit have created what they call a microwave culture. We want everything right now, and debt lets us have it, whether we can actually afford it or not. They're pushing for a big shift towards an economy built on financial discipline, where we spend what we have, not what we can borrow.
From this point of view, saying no to someone for a high-risk loan isn't being cruel. It's being responsible. It's kind of like a doctor telling you to cut back on sugar. You don't want to hear it, but it's crucial for your long-term health. And in this case, we're talking about the long-term financial health of the entire country.
So, after all these twists and turns, what's the big picture? Let's try to boil this whole debate down to its most basic conflict. It really comes down to two totally different visions for the economy. On one side, you have people saying we have to protect consumers and force some financial discipline to build a more stable, sustainable system. And on the other side, you have people warning that this will just choke off credit, slam the brakes on spending, and damage the economic growth we all depend on.
You know, this quote really nails the philosophy of the pro-cap side. They see our current debt-fueled system as an engine that's just overheating. And to get to a more stable place, that engine has to cool down. And that cooling process is probably going to involve some pain in the short term, but it's for a healthier long term.
And that's the fundamental question we're left with here. What kind of economy do we really want? One that prioritizes easy-breezy access to credit to keep that engine of growth roaring, even if it means a lot of people get trapped in debt? Or do we want an economy that enforces financial discipline from the top down, even if it means a pretty painful adjustment period for everyone? So what's the right move? There is no easy answer. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more explainers that break down these big economic debates, make sure you subscribe to the Stock Market Mojo YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.